The reason we record the session is was a couple of reasons. One is if you happen to have to miss all or part of one of the sessions, you're able to rewatch it, or sorry, watch it, the recording. Also, if there was something in particular that you wanted to watch again, or see how something worked again, you could go back and look at those. So those will be made available to you. I'll give you a little content warning. We do show some road crash scenes, nothing overly graphic, just trying to work out what we can do to stop these happening in the future or reduce the severity of them. So if that could disturb you, just want to flag that at this stage. Be aware of, and we'll tell you as they come up. Kez, over to you.
Yeah, who am I? Here we go. So I'm the program moderator today, and I'm just here really to look after any of your needs during this session, look at your questions and answers and any administrative or logistical issues that you might have. If you type them in the chat, either to everyone or to me personally, or get in touch with the training inbox. So if your tech fails at any point, just try the old on and off and try and get back in. But you can also dial in using your phone. But yeah, just use the chat to get in touch, and I'm here in the background.
Thanks, Kez. Yeah, so Kez is your go-to with anything that may arise from the admin logistics perspective. We do use this chat for all of your questions during the course, and that so the live module. So if you've got a question about the technical content, just type it into the chat as we go. Don't wait for me to stop and say, does anybody have any questions? Because inevitably you'll start typing a question, then I'll move on, and then you'll finish typing a question and I'll be into the next topic. And so just type it in as we go. Kez will monitor that in the background, and we'll jump in and stop me at different points and say, okay, we've had a question about this, and I'll jump in and clarify that. Yeah, if for some reason your chat's not working, the Q&A is often there. That's also a way you could do it privately if there was something you didn't want others to see. And in the chat, you can do it to everybody or to hosts and panelists. We like it when the chat is to everybody, so everybody can see the different comments that are coming in and questions, and people can make comment on stuff behind the scenes. In the sort of virtual training where we don't get to hang out at lunchtime and have that networking, sort of the chat is a little bit of a replacement, so you can make those calls. We do have the option that you could put your hand up, and then Kez could get in there and give you the ability to unmute yourself, and you could ask your question verbally if you want. But we predominantly work things through the chat, but you could put up the hand and we will dig in and let you ask your question or make your comment. So the learning management system, Kez, over to you on this one.
Yeah, so everyone should have access now to the learning management system. You will have sent your had your login details sent to you through emails prior to this session, and this contains all of our training material, your assignments. It'll have resources, it'll have the slides to this presentation, and many of you probably have already logged in. So if you haven't, or you're having issues, then please just check your junk mail in case your login details have gone there. But if not, you can contact the training inbox again. Also, this is where you'll find your quiz after the session. So you'll need to log in to complete the quiz, to complete the course. So it's very important that you have a little look at the learning management system.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kez. That's right. And I reiterate that. You cannot pass this course without access to the learning management system. And you would have received an email from Safe System Solutions. Find that email, and if you can't find it, reply to the email you got that has invited you to this course. You've got this far. You must have some contact. So reply to training@safesystemsolutions.com.au or to Kez, or just make sure you get access to this. So our two presenters, one is myself, my name is Ken Beer. I'm the Principal Engineer at Safe System Solutions, and spent a long time in road safety auditing, working in various jurisdictions for government and in private industry. And my contact details are there. There's also a little QR code to my LinkedIn. That'll be on the next few slides as well. If you want to connect with me, I do share a lot of content online about new things in road safety, engineering, auditing, infrastructure. So it's a good way to keep the conversation going. My colleague, Jamie Robinson, who's technical lead at Safe System Solutions, will present one of the modules associated with road safety audits of detailed design stage and a lot of, I suppose, technical specifics. And his contact details are there as well. So there's that QR code still down there if you want to try and use your phone and connect. One of the other things we do during the live sessions to try to keep you engaged, I know it's tempting to write your emails and do your roundabout design or whatever you've got on the go. But one of the things is that you have to keep an eye out for Wally the Wombat. And that's a picture of Wally the Wombat warning sign there. So that sign will appear a certain number of times on the slides for each session. And then when you get to the quiz for the end of each session, you will be asked, how many times did Wally appear? And that will be one of the questions. You'll also have questions about the content that was covered. Now, that's just an example Wally, so 0 Wally so far, but keep an eye out. And in order to successfully complete this course, we do set a competency benchmark, and to be eligible then, or get the certificate, which makes you eligible to register as a road safety auditor in a variety of jurisdictions. You have to attend 4 of the 5 live webinars. If you've missed one, view the recorded one. We like you at the live ones because we have questions and interaction and all of that. We know that sometimes life, you have unavoidable things that you have to do, so we've given that slight tolerance. If for some reason it becomes more than that, you're going to have to get in contact with Kez and have a chat about how to work those things. We need you to complete all set tasks, quizzes, assignments, the major audit assignment, and we need you to get 80% or better. So we've set a high competency benchmark there for the quizzes and the assignments that are all marked. So quizzes are multiple choice, but the assignments, one of our senior auditors will actually mark your audit. And you've got 3 attempts at everything, and you have one-on-one coaching available. So if you're struggling, we want you to reach out and shoot an email through to Kez or myself or training, and we'll organise a one-on-one session with somebody who can talk you through the things you're concerned about, the specifics, answer your question. We're here to support. This is a training course. We're here for you to learn. And so don't get freaked out by that 80%. Just know that everything to get 80% or more will be covered in the content, and you'll have support to bring you up to that competency level. Now, Kez, has anybody asked any questions yet, or you got anything to add before I jump into some content?
No, nothing to add other than that I'll be sat here in the prize pit in the background. So I'll be looking for interesting comments in the chat and good answers to questions and good questions, and we'll be handing out prizes. So I'll let you carry on. And
that sounds very good though, Kez. We do like to give out prizes, don't we? So
we do.
As Kez mentioned there, in the prize bit. So I will, for good comments, good questions that come in, or people who answer my questions in the chat, I will give out prizes, and Kez might also give out some as she sees things she likes. And the prizes could be anything, not necessarily a Peppa Pig doll. It could be anything. It could be a pair of socks or a water bottle or some thing. And you might be saying, well, I wonder how I get that. And the way you get that is through the post in the successful completion of the course. You will actually be posted a hard copy of your certificate and any prizes you've won along the journey. Now, you might have got a pack in the post. Don't worry if you haven't received that already. It's nothing vital to the course. It's just a few little bits and pieces and some snacks to keep you going. And yeah, we'll send you another pack at the end of the course. I want to.
Sorry, no, you go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to take the opportunity to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the varied lands we're running this training on. It's quite varied too, in quite a number of areas. Pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging in all of those areas.
That's what I was going to say as well, Ken. Thank you.
Oh, good. Okay. And I'm going to get into some content, but please type stuff into the chat. Let's get that discussion going. Remember, there's a drop down there. You can choose to talk to everybody, or you can choose to just talk to panelists and hosts, but let's jump into it. Road safety auditing. You're all here to become road safety auditors, no doubt. And by the end of this module, so just this module, we are going to have defined road safety audit. We're going to understand how it fits in a infrastructure project's life cycle. We're going to differentiate between road safety audits and black spot investigations or crash reduction studies. We'll get into a bit about, well, what is risk and how do we risk rate audit findings. We'll talk about the SAFE system. We'll do a bit of discussion about kinetic energy thresholds, and we'll categorize road safety audit findings. Now, that looks like a lot to cover. It is a lot to cover. I will move quickly. You can obviously watch recordings again, but I'm going to step through this with lots of different examples and step us through one at a time. So this course is based on the Austroads Guide to Road Safety Part 6, the 2022 version of it. There's a picture of the front cover of it. This course conforms to that guide. It's the Austroads Guide. And you've got a copy of that in the learning management system, which you need access to. There's a whole lot of guides that, are now superseded. You may see some of them if you're in offices that still have any hard copies lying around, or you might have used them in the past. But we're at the 2022 version. Now, I was the technical advisor to Austroads on this document, so know it very well. Yeah, we're going to take you through the content, which really comes from that. But for this course overall, right, the whole course, we want to outline the process of road safety audit, okay? And I'm underlining process there because in the limited time we have together, there is no possible way to go through all of the content from a technical perspective that you would need to be a road safety auditor. In fact, that's just a lifelong continual learning exercise. What we can do is clarify the process of road safety auditing with you and exactly how things should happen, in what order, and how you go about them. We can give you some basic skill sets in the particulars of auditing, which we will do. We're going to make sure you're looking at your audits through a SAFE system lens, and I'll explain what that means shortly. And I'm going to present you with examples of common issues arising. So in my many hundreds of road safety audits that I've done over my career, there are things that come up semi-frequently. And I'll be using those as a bit of an example. We want to ensure that when you audit, you're thinking about all road users, cyclists, motorcyclists, heavy vehicles, pedestrians, cars, even thinking about, these new emerging ones, e-scooters, and hoverboards, and all these sorts of things. We want to encourage road safety auditing because it is a tool that improves road safety, and we'll answer any questions you've got. So I'm going to be nice here. There's a Wally, and your Wally count is 1. No more help on Wallies. I'll help you with auditing. Now, I don't want to spend long on this, and don't worry too much about the detail, but this is straight out of the Austra's Guide to Road Safety Part 6. And it's to try to show that road safety in road infrastructure projects and the life cycle of a road or road-related area, we inject safety in a whole lot of different ways. Okay, we've got general visions of safety and safe system principles, safety and design, higher level reviews, movement in place considerations, road stereotypes, network safety plans, and all of these sorts of things. We've got proactive techniques, okay? This is crashes haven't happened yet, and we're trying to stop them happening in the future. Or reactive techniques, which mean crashes have happened, and we're trying to stop crashes happening again. Also got predictive techniques, which kind of link in with both of them. But you can see road safety audits are in the proactive techniques. So they are not chasing crashes. They're looking at designs or existing bits of road and trying to predict future crashes. There may have been crashes in the past, there may not have been. This may be a completely new road. It's not even built yet. So how can you have a crash history? But you would be looking through this lens of what are the risks that could present death and serious injury to our community. If you've got an intersection and it's got lots of crashes there, and they're asking you to go and analyze those crashes and in detail and work out what's wrong with this intersection that's causing all these crashes, you're not doing a road safety audit. You're doing a black spot investigation, or you're doing a crash reduction study or a crash analysis study, okay? It's a different technique. Yes, they often use very similar skill sets, but it's a different technique. Okay. The first and most common misunderstanding of what a road safety audit is that people think that a road safety audit is a check against the documented standards or guidelines, looking for things that don't conform to the standard. That is not what a road safety audit is. It is not a standards review or check or audit from that perspective. Okay? A road safety audit is looking for anything that is going to be built or is currently there that could cause death or serious injury to our community. And we don't care if it meets standards, it doesn't meet standards, or there are no standards available for this. Okay? You can see a site or a design, everything meets standards. As a road safety auditor, you're concerned with it. You report that there are issues that need to be addressed. You can see something that does not meet standards. And if you are not concerned that it will present death or serious injury to our community, you are not obligated to report that in your audit. Now, if you do, understanding the standards and guidelines and the like is very useful as an audit, because most standards and guidelines are built on a platform of safety of some description, and they can help you identify issues often, okay? So they're a good starting point, as I've said there in that slide. But there are many situations where standards and meeting standards and conforming with standards does not equal safety. in the road context. So the standard could have death and serious injury built into it. Okay, it could have been either a conscious or unconscious decision by the standards committee to leave a level of risk for one reason or another. And that happens. We could have a situation where standards combine together and they create an unsafe scenario. And that happens a bit because you've got so many standards and so many guidelines, and then, you know, picking bits and pieces, and all of these things come together into an unsafe scenario. You could also have a context or a situation where no standards really exist, or the standards have never been conceived to be applied in these new scenarios or unique scenarios. So our job as a road safety auditor is to look at a design of a road upgrade or changes to the road environment, or look at the existing road and say, how are members of the community going to be killed or seriously injured when this is built? So here's an example of where a member of our community was killed in a road that was fairly new, multi-billion-dollar road, with road designers who are exceptional. They're experienced, highly competent, done lots of this, knew the standards and guidelines, built the road, met all the standards. But not long after it opened, we see a member of our community killed. Now, I'm using this as an example of where standards have been met. There was no argument standards were not met, but somebody has been killed here. Okay, so just a little question and an opportunity, I think, here to give out a prize, Kez. Get the prize pit working. So you can see that there's a road safety barrier, a wire rope barrier system. Does anybody know, if I was to say to you that that is a test level 4 barrier system, TL4, test level 4, does anybody know what weight of vehicle was crashed into that type of barrier in a test scenario at 100 kilometers an hour and 25-degree angle? What was the weight of the vehicle? Now, this is a very specific technical question, right? And I don't expect road safety auditors to know this immediately, but you maybe in your audit team, you would have somebody who has this knowledge, or you would be looking and investigating and finding this out. But have a guess. You don't lose any mark. You can't lose marks in the live training session, okay? These are just opportunities to win prizes and have a chat. So just chuck in any weight you can guess. You know, it's going to be in tons. Yep. So I'm seeing some guesses coming in tons. We got 3 tons. We got 10 tons, 4.5 tons. Okay, some good guesses here. Kez, let's give the prize to whoever said 10 tons.
Yeah, a couple of those from you. Good.
Okay, so 10 tons. Maybe I'll give 8 ton. Anybody who said 8 tons a prize as well. Kez will monitor that. If you said 10 or 8, you're on the board for a prize. So the reason I gave 8 or 10 is because we're changing crash test protocol, and we've just changed to MASH, the Manual for Assessing Safety Hardware, which is 10 tons, and the NCHRP 350, which was the earlier crash test protocol, was around the 8 ton mark. So the point being that this vehicle that has struck this barrier system, that barrier system was never designed to hold or contain a vehicle above 10 tons. And in fact, I'm pretty sure it was a test level 3 system. I didn't do the investigation on this one, but a colleague, there was a test level 3 system, which is only a 2-ton vehicle. So there's no way that system in a lot of crash scenarios would contain that vehicle, right? And so we've got something that meets standards, but the context and scenario we have here is a major motorway, which is going to be carrying a lot of large vehicles. Somebody's made a decision for a test level barrier, and that vehicle's breached it because of its weight and the energy it had. It's breached that barrier. It's hit the gantry, and we've had the death to the driver. Now, even more concerning, or adding to this concern, is the catastrophic potential of the whole gantry coming down over the carriageway, and we might have seen a lot more serious injury and death. So your job as a road safety auditor is, when this road design is on a piece of paper or in CAD and you review it, to be asking questions like, well, what are the weights of vehicles? How many heavy vehicles are going through it? What can that barrier system contain? What if a vehicle breaches that barrier system? Is it going to hit a gantry? Where is that gantry going to fall? Is it going to go off an embankment onto another road? Is it going to go onto a rail line? And so you're holistically thinking about safety, not just about did it meet standards. So that's the test vehicle that you would use in a test level 4 crash test to see if that barrier is strong enough to contain that vehicle. That's as far as it goes in test level 4. So I used that as one example. There we go. We saw standards were met, death and serious injury to our community. We want to intervene as road safety auditors. We want to stop that happening before they build that road. Here's another example. Okay, this one is different. So we've got a big intersection up here, and some of you probably know this area, but we've got a massive subdivision development site down here, and they're creating a new intersection there, signalized intersection. Okay, so this, we're seeing the plan before they start. Okay, let's zoom in on that. Okay, big signalized intersection down here. It says Main Street, and what we're seeing there is the design of a signalized intersection. Now, that square up there represents a car, and say it's traveling along at 65. It's a 60 zone, so maybe they're going a little bit faster than that. They've gone through their green light, and they continue on, and whoa, okay, in a turn lane. And that's what we call a trap lane. Very well named thing, a trap lane. So what you are asked to do as a road safety auditor is identify that you've got a trap lane there. And we know that we're going to have rear end crashes. We're going to have side swipe crashes because vehicles are going to come along here, and then all of a sudden they are trapped and they try and get out of their lane because they didn't want to turn right. They wanted to go straight ahead. And they're going to have side swipe crashes. And if motorcyclists are involved, it's going to be trouble. And then we're going to have rear end crashes where they're trying to merge and they can't, and then they slam into the back of other vehicles. It's going to be an issue around here. We know that. We know that from the design. All right. Now, trap lanes are discouraged in standards and guidelines, but absolutely, a designer can make a case to say that this meets standards and guidelines, and it does. All right. So again, we're here as road safety auditors to find this and to alert designer and project manager to the risk. Now, I'll tell you here, the designer of this would have known they had designed a trap. Okay. I am absolutely sort of sympathetic to designers, road designers. And, you know, I've been involved in a lot of this stuff over many years, and to a project like this, you are constrained by costs, services, community, you know, expectations, your traffic modeling, cultural heritage and native vegetation issues, drainage, you name it. Like, there is so much complication in these sorts of projects, okay? The beauty of being a road safety auditor is you have one objective, and that is to keep our community safe. So you don't need to be concerned with all of those other issues. You simply see what is going to kill and seriously injure our community. You report it in your report, and you can give them some assistance in terms of ideas on how we might lessen this risk. But it is their project. It's the designer's project. It's the project manager's project. You as a road safety auditor can't demand something, right? You can simply give them ideas, highlight the risk. That's what our role is. So you might say, you know, you explain this issue, you've identified it, the designer gets it, says, I know there was a trap lane there, right? You're still reporting it even though they knew. And then you've risk rated it, and then you've given some ideas on how to lessen risk. Or maybe in some cases, this one's a very obvious one that I would say the designer would know this, but sometimes the designer will not have seen the issue and go, wow, okay, I did not think of that. We need to adjust accordingly. And then you make some recommendations. Your recommendations could be to create channelized right turn lanes. It could be to remove one of the right turn lanes. It could be to reconfigure the intersection. It could be it could be to have gantries with overhead lane use signs. It could be advanced warning signs. It could be changed line marking. There are lots of ways we can lessen risk. And again, you're going to have to think about, well, which would be the best and how many of these do we present? And they will make a call. Okay. Kez, any questions or comments at this stage?
Just a couple of comments about the bike lanes, the one heading south, which is stuck between two traffic lanes, and northbound, the bike lane passing by the bus stop on the outside. So yeah, just comments about the layout.
Thanks, Kez, and thanks to those mentioning those. And it's good that people are looking at, all road users. And as an auditor, you would certainly be doing that. I picked one issue, which is predominantly car injury related, but certainly there'd be some scrutiny around the bike facilities, pedestrian crossing facilities, and desire lines, and motorcyclists and heavy vehicles. Can they move around? Are they going to sweep over areas where pedestrians are going to be? So you're really holistically looking at it. And I think those are good points. And we've got some people who are already, honing their eye on safety issues within designs. Okay, I'm going to play this little video, and I'm going to have to jump screens, I think, here, because it's not really playing on my PowerPoint. But what I'm going to show the wonderful trainee auditors we've got here, I'm going to show a video, and this is a crash. And what I want everybody to do is to look at the road environment. Okay, look at the road environment and type into the chat things that you can see in the road environment that you think may have contributed to this crash happening. Okay, thinking about what sort of things might contribute to a crash happening. Okay, I'm going to play it. So we're looking at the back of a vehicle to start, then we'll go to the front of the vehicle and you'll see a bit of the road environment. And then I want you to type them into the chat and you can put a few in if you want. So hopefully, Kez, that is playing. It is, because somebody's already written in an idea.
Yeah, it's playing.
Okay, I'm going to play it again. Sorry.
Sorry to say, quite a few comments coming through now.
Good. Okay, I'm going to play it again because I want people to really be looking at all of these, infrastructure, road environment characteristics and things that are there that may have influenced the fact that this white ute driver has overshot the intersection or the fact that the crash happened. Okay. Let me jump back to my screen now in just a second. Playing again. I'm going to play again. I'm just reading through some of the comments, and because it looks like we've got a group that's got quite a good lens on road safety and things that are contributing to crashes, and they know their road infrastructure. This is good, and we'll be building off this existing knowledge. I'm going to stop sharing there, and I'm going to jump back to our other one. So well done. Thank you, everybody. So let me just now have a look at what we've got here. Okay. So we've got some people that have made comments. Just so many good comments here. I'm just trying to work out where I even start. Okay, some people are looking at things like the street lighting and was it on and what time of the day, and it's always a bit hard to tell from this sort of footage, but that could be a contributing factor. We've got some people talking about the speed and the speed of entry. Some people talking about the sort of signage, and I've seen a variety of things around the signage. So we've seen some people talking about the small hazard board, and we've got some blocking of signs and the like. These are all reasonable things to sort of bring up. I wouldn't say these are, huge contributors to this, but they're certainly what auditors would be looking at, trying to gather an understanding. Interesting, we've got a bit of confusion about the control of this intersection. Is it a roundabout? Is it a T intersection? What is it? And that is interesting because if we're confused at this stage, certainly a road user at some point will be confused. And road users sometimes are driving and they don't know the area. Sometimes they're a little bit intoxicated. Sometimes they're really tired and they're not concentrating. Sometimes they're distracted by something. And we can get angry at all of that, right? And we could say, well, people should not drive like that. And well, absolutely, I fundamentally agree. The reality is there is so many people driving in these varied states that we need to start catering for that in our design. We're not encouraging it, and we're going to do lots and lots in road safety to try to minimize it. But start getting your head in the space that that's what we are dealing with. And if we can alter our road designs to mean that that doesn't result in death or serious injury, that is what we're here to do. So drivers approaching this intersection may be confused as to what on earth they're meant to do. Okay. So I think that's an interesting point. But one that's come up in there, and looks like it's Alistair who's come up with it. And g'day, Alistair. Tunnel vision through the intersection. Now that's a really, it's an interesting point, and that is probably the one with contributing severity factors that is probably, to me, one of the bigger issues with this intersection. And it's a combination of some of the stuff others are saying, but it all sort of sums up into what I would call visual deceit. This road environment, in its geometry and its setup, deceives drivers. May not deceive every driver, and in fact, it'll be, you know, 1 in every 100,000 or 1 in every 100 million will be deceived by it. And what I mean by deceived by it is that it goes straight through. It's got lighting and power poles that continue through a direct run into the next into the continuation of that road. But there is a requirement to give way at this location. So see-through effect or tunnel vision, these are parts of visual deceit. Visual deceit comes in many forms in road design and the road environment, and we're looking for that kind of stuff as a road safety auditor. Okay? This probably meets standards and guidelines, but there's something out there that could deceive a driver. Okay, so that then is part of the equation. The speeds of the vehicles, speeds of the other road, you know, things like sight distance I'm seeing, you know, you'd look at all of these. Yeah, inconspicuity of the intersection, sort of try to summarize all of that by Sonny there. Nice commentary. We do see a couple of people sort of targeting driver behaviour, and I want to be very clear on this. As a road safety auditor, you're thinking about the infrastructure, how it might influence driver behaviour. If you get yourself caught up in people doing inappropriate things or the like, that's not our job. Others working on that. And the fact is that there's a whole lot of it out there, but if we go ever into dismissing risk based on our driver behaviour, we're not doing our job. Aaron can have a prize too there, because Kez, he's talked about the lighting looks like it continues the road, which is exactly what I was just mentioning there. Because we could almost give prizes to everybody here. Yeah. I'm just scrolling through to see if anything else pops out. Really, you know, I think clarity around the intersection, you know, is it a roundabout or not, is an interesting point of people scratching their head. And that's one that has come up a lot in road safety audit is that, you know, the form of the intersection is not clear. Okay. It may be very clear in the designer's mind. It's not a roundabout, but somebody approaching this, we've got, oh, the line marking looks like a roundabout. The signage looks like a roundabout because that's the same shape sign looking like a roundabout. All right. And so, you know, it might just be too late that they understand the difference, or, you know, they've shot through anyway, and there's lots of challenges there.
Just got a question there from Justin. Surely RSAs have limits on what is reasonable to account for. There will always be a percentage of behaviour that goes beyond this. No?
It's a decent question. I mean, the fundamentals of it at a purely principles perspective, I would say no. I disagree. we can create road environments that are virtually impenetrable to driver, rider, pedestrian behavior in terms of the outcome being death or serious injury. Okay. But the practical realities of it in terms of cost and, this massive expanse of road network, which we've inherited and has so many flaws and deficiencies, that people sort of just say, well, it's impossible. It's impossible to eliminate. But you can. And we see this. We see this out there in areas, in cities around the world where there is no death and serious injury, right? It's just that we have, this huge expanse that we're dealing with. So then, you get to a practical point where we can create and suggest alterations to this intersection that reduce the risk, right? Are we going to eliminate death and serious injury? Absolutely. Probably not, just because of a whole lot of other factors that we have inherited and we're dealing with, and then the costs and these implications. So, yeah, I appreciate the point, but the reason I would push back a little bit is you don't want to catch yourself in that mindset, because the easiest thing to do in road safety is blame the driver. Like, it's so easy to do, because I've done in-depth fatal crash investigations for hundreds of crashes. I can always blame the driver. Like, there's no issues at all doing that in all of every case, right? But what do we achieve out of it? Like, all we're saying is that humans are deficient. Yeah, we kind of know that. Like, people take risks, people do stupid stuff, people fall asleep, people do all these things. Like, you need to elevate yourself out of that and say, well, what could we alter in this road environment that dramatically reduces that risk? Okay. So I'm sort of, my role as a trainer is to sometimes make things very polarized in the way I explain them, just to, hit home a point. The real world is murky and grey and hard and challenging, and we're dealing with all sorts of challenges. But we need to, within our road safety auditing, put a lens on to say, what can we do with this road environment that caters for humans? And means that either people don't crash, or if they crash, it doesn't result in death or serious injury. And I think there's a wonderful, wonderful example here in this crash and in road environment where the road designer has made a choice which has undoubtedly saved a life, or at least prevented a pretty hideous serious injury. Okay. And that is, I'm going to jump a bit forward. The black car there, which was, ticking along, minding its own business, and then all of a sudden was pushed into a light pole. The light pole broke away on impact. Now, that wasn't just some, crappy light pole that didn't, it's meant to be rigid and it's broken away. That was a discrete engineering decision to use a frangible light pole at this location. Okay. So yes, we've got this deficiency of the geometric design of this intersection. Maybe we've got some signage, some line marking issues, maybe some sight distance issues, maybe things that are clear, right? And we don't want any of that. We're going to try to eliminate that as road safety auditors and make it clear and lessen the number of people crashing. But we need to get our head in the space of, when crashes happen, how do we manage the energy in those crashes to make it so the drivers involved walk away, or the pedestrian walks away, or has some minor treatments, and the motorcyclists and the cyclists, right? And I just am using a frangible pole here as an example, because that decision sorry, I'll just go back to that, has undoubtedly done that. And the reason I know that is because some knowledge about biomechanics of injury, energy management in the road system will give you this information. That vehicle has dissipated its energy over about that distance, okay? With a rigid pole, they would have dissipated all of their energy very quickly, right? And with the speed they were going in the vehicle that they're in, with the safety features it's got, and the airbags and seatbelts and the like, the speed that they hit that rigid pole, without it breaking away, they would have been either killed or high-level serious injury for sure. But that decision, which potentially a road safety auditor had some say in, or the designer was just thinking about, how do we make this safe, has prevented that. So a slip-based pole, for those who don't know, part of the frangible suite. Frangible means to break away or bend on impact. Okay, this is a slip-based pole. So you can see it's got a shear plane. When struck at the base, it slides across. When it's got, wind load and torque, the weight and the wind load, the bolts take that load. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant engineering. Okay, you can see there, my colleague Max, Senior Road Safety Auditor, who may mark some of the assignments, by the way, he's checking the height of a slip-based pole there. And I'll talk about that in a second as to why that's something we're interested in. But as a road safety auditor, you're going to be given design sets. You might get the full design set, you'll get the long section, cross section, you'll get the drainage plan, you'll get the lighting plan, and you're looking at the lighting plan, you go, okay, they're putting a whole lot of new lighting in. What type of lighting are they using? What type of poles are they? Are they slip-based poles? Are they rigid poles? Are they another type of pole? Where are they placed? And so you're starting to think about all of these factors, all right, as a road safety auditor. And you've got to be able to pick issues from these sorts of designs. Now, imagine if you were given this intersection as a design before it was built, and they'd proposed to use slip-based poles, let's say for this lighting. So they've said, well, the designer might have said, well, I'm worried about vehicles leaving the road and hitting that pole, and vehicle occupants being injured. What other issues, though, might arise if that was a slip-based pole? Anybody want to pop that into the chat? I might be able to get a prize for this. Okay. Gee, they're good, Greg. I think Rafi was in there first.
He was there super quick.
Yeah, got good internet connection there. And the correct sort of thinking is, okay, this is going to fall. We know it's going to fall. It's designed to fall when struck. Where's it going to fall? Is it going to hit pedestrians? I think there's another good one in there, which is always worth thinking about. Is it going to hit tram lines or overhead? So Luke can have a prize as well. Is it going to hit power lines? Is it going to, what damage is it going to do? So it's not just about thinking about the safety feature, but it's the context and holistically thinking around this. So we actually have, I've mentioned two. So I said slip-based and rigid light poles. This is a third one. I will give a prize if anybody can tell me what that is. It's got a specific name. Yes, Rafi's got it again. Yep.
Closely followed by Alistair there.
Yes. And Sanam's talked about the overarching suite of frangible. So these are all within the frangible. Well, sorry, rigid is not frangible, but rigid is the alternate to frangible. Within frangible, we have slip-based, we have impact absorbing is the term. Now, impact absorbing sort of, that's what the name says, absorbs the impact, but it contains everything within a certain envelope. A slip-based pole is likely to really fly off and go places. Okay, so the rules of thumb and different jurisdictions have different guidance on this, but high-speed environments you use slip-based poles. Low-speed environments you can use rigid or a impact absorbing, depending on your context. And you certainly want to think about pedestrians, cyclists, power lines, and like all through as you're making those considerations. So there are a couple of things here, and in your notes, you've got little links to what we call safe system snippets. So if you download the PDFs of all the slides in the learning management system, you can click on the hyperlinks and you can go and get a little more info and some videos and different things on these. But for slip-based poles, you've got to think when you're road safety auditing and you look at a design and they're putting in slip-based poles or they're not, where are they going to fall if they're struck? Okay, or looking at rigid poles and saying, well, if they're struck, is that going to seriously injure the occupants of the vehicles? For existing roads, and when they've been put in place, a road safety audit is sometimes conducted on a newly constructed facility like this roundabout that Max and the audit team are out looking at. And, it's a newly constructed roundabout, and a road safety audit is just going and checking everything was, put in properly and there's no safety issues. And he's just checking, is the height of that appropriate? Because if it's too high, a vehicle will snag on it. It won't do its job. It might as well be a rigid pole. If it's too low, a little bit, it just lessens the effectiveness of it. Being too low is not as bad as being too high, but you don't want it to be too low because it's a bit in the ground. So there's some specifics. Keep your questions and comments coming in. We are going to have a short break very soon. I think we're almost an hour in, aren't we, Kez? Starting on the half hour has confused me, but okay. So a road safety audit is proactive and a black spot investigation is reactive. Okay. This is really important. We don't need crashes to have happened in order to do a road safety audit. And if an existing area does not have any crashes, it does not mean it is free of risk. Okay, it just means that risk has not yet presented itself in death or serious injury. So, should you look at crash history as part of a road safety audit? And I've already seen some people answering, and I've got a no and a yes. What a wonderful platform that is for me to talk about this. Well, the answer is it's up to you. Now, you mightn't like that, but I'll explain both. Is it one? Give Ward a prize for nah. That made me laugh. Okay, let me lay out both arguments for you. Okay, first of all, I know people who are exceptional road safety audits and never look at crash history. Why? Because they're auditing designs, and this is new infrastructure. Okay, so it might currently be a giveaway controlled intersection and the design is a roundabout, and they're asked to audit the roundabout design. What relevance is the crash history when it was a completely different intersection for? Okay, so they say, well, why would I'm looking at this design and I'm saying, how are road users going to use this? How are pedestrians going to cross it? How are cyclists going to get through this? How are vehicles going to get around? Are there rollover issues? They're focused on the future of what is going to happen out of this. The other side, some people do look at crashes to get more of an idea of, well, what road users are in the area? What road users are being involved in crashes? What do I know about the existing risk that is being presented in crashes, and how can I translate this to the new design? The way I do it, and again, I say this, it's up to you how you do this, is I audit without the crash history. Then after I've come up with my findings and my thoughts around it, I'll have a look at the crash history and just see if anything else pops out that is unique, unexpected. You know, it might be, I go, whoa, there's a huge number of motorcycle percentage, a huge percentage of motorcyclists involved. There must be something I don't know about this area for, that. But if the crash history is driving your identification of risk, you're using it inappropriately. Okay. This is the same for the existing conditions road safety audit. You know, if you're auditing an existing intersection, okay, the crash history is not your absolute driver. Okay, you may look at it a little bit more, but if you're really analyzing crash history, doing crash diagrams, looking at the time of day of crashes and looking at, you know, users involved and doing crash diagrams and putting in DCA or RUM codes to it, you're doing a crash investigation. You're doing a black spot investigation. You're a crash reduction study. It's a different beast. Gee, they complement each other, and they're the same, similar skill sets, but they are different.
Just got that comment there in the chat about the design audits, Adele here, where crash history shows a high proportion of drunk drivers. And that provides food for thought as she did the audit there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that might. Yeah. So as long as it's providing food for thought in terms of, you know, what can this design do, you know, to be really clear, to lower speeds, to reduce injury, to pay for this. If it's, well, you know, the road user is going to be drunk, so there's nothing we can do. That's not the right attitude. It's more, you know, understanding that is part of the context of the road environment, the road use that we need to deal with. Okay, yeah, you can have, you know, suggestions to others about doing boost buses and enforcement of that sort of stuff and the like. But your job as a road safety auditor is, what can we do with that infrastructure? I think we better take our pause there. I'll leave this on screen for people to ponder. And I will give a prize when we come back. But I'm going to take 3 minutes, just so it's going to be a quick break. But it's showing there that, you know, road safety audits are highly effective and high benefit cost ratio, high value for money to do in terms of safety, especially when they're done on the designs, and still really good for existing roads, but not as good. And as you go and fill your coffee up, have a think about why we get so much more benefit versus cost for a design stage audit, where we're looking at a design as compared to looking at the existing road. And 3 minutes, and we'll come back into it after that. Thank you. $3 invest, $6 in return. All right, let's get back into it then. And we've seen 3 people pop in answers, and Kez, 3 prizes, I say, because everybody's generally on the right, on the money there, which is to say that it is cheaper to alter the lines on a bit of paper or lines in CAD than it is to get in there and rectify any existing infrastructure, because it's just going to be more expensive. Also, within that, there is a reluctance often to change existing infrastructure, as was mentioned, because because it's there and it's expensive, and you know, people aren't open to that sort of change. And it's usually what they will do is sort of lower costing signs, warning signs, and the like, which aren't going to be fundamentally as effective. So I'll leave that to you, Kez, to work out, because I see a couple other things coming in. Okay. So let's go with what is a road safety audit. What is a road safety audit? Okay, a road safety audit is defined in the new Part 6. So this is actually the 2022 version. I saw on the last slide, it's not 2019, which is the 2022 version. And it's a big page in there talking about what is a road safety. I'm not going to read that out to you. That's just a waste of time to read something you could read if you want. It's on page 4. But I'll explain some of the key points to you as we go. A road safety audit is a formal examination of a future road or traffic project or an existing road or road-related area in which independent qualified team reports on a project's crash potential and actual safety performance respectively. So some key words in there: future or existing road or road-related area. So this can be designs or it can be the existing road or road-related area. What do I mean by road-related area? Well, it could be a shared path, it could be a car park, it could be a access road, it could be anything. Independent. You must be independent to undertake the road safety audit, independent from the design and from the project management. Okay, you can't undertake a road safety audit on your own design. You can't undertake a road safety audit if you are the project manager of that, because one, you are conflicted because you are thinking about everything associated with that project. You're thinking about the costs, the community, the timeline on it, all these traffic model challenges and all these other things, right? And so you may overtly or consciously or unconsciously be swayed in your presentation and thinking about safety issues. Second of all, you can't sort of proofread your own work. And you know that, whether you write a letter, for example, and you read it, you go, yeah, it's great, it's perfect. You hand it over to a colleague and they read it and they find spelling mistakes or issues or the wrong word, or you've referred to something, you forgot to change the date. You're like, oh, I missed that. Like, it's because you were too close to it. You were in there. You can't see that. So these are the reasons we require independence. You need to be qualified, and this course gets you that step to qualification. I'll talk in the final module of this course about the specifics of, what do you do with this certificate from this course and how do you get on jurisdictional registers and the like. And we talk about a project's crash potential. Okay, we're interested in, what is going to cause death and serious injury into the future. Now, we have committed to the safe system approach to road safety. That is across all jurisdictions in Australia and New Zealand. This is the way that we are going to address road trauma, and it comes with some pretty important principles. And some of you have heard this many, many times, but I'm going to say it again. A principle is that people make mistakes. We're going to try and do everything we can to minimize the mistakes people make and then to manage those mistakes when they do. But we need to get our head in the space that people make mistakes. We need to understand how vulnerable people are, how much energy can the human body handle before it breaks. And we need to start using that as a design parameter. And we need to have a shared responsibility. And that means that we, as auditors and infrastructure managers and road designers, we need to say we're going to do everything we can and not just push blame to some inappropriate road use. Okay? How does this play out when we're road safety auditing? Well, before I jump into that, I think I want to ask you a quiz. I'll summarize the principles first again there. We are aiming at no death or serious injury. It is an aspiration. It's a distance off. but is what we need to aspire to. We can't just accept there will be some. We need to challenge that always. We need to acknowledge people make mistakes. And we need to design and manage, minimize and manage those mistakes. We need that shared responsibility. And we need to understand the biomechanics of injury, how much force humans can take before they break in different crash scenarios. And I will take you through that in detail. But Kez, let's pop up a quiz, which I think it's got 3 questions which people have, what we've covered in the content. And the last question's a bit out of left field, where we haven't clarified it, but it leads me into the next slide. So hopefully that'll pop up on your screen. You are not being marked on this. Remember that. Nothing in the live sessions you're marked on. This is just a bit of interaction, a bit of showing that people are still there. So have a flick through those.
Yeah, we've got 5 good questions here.
Yes.
Everyone's having a think, I think.
Yep. We'll give them a little bit of time. I've got 5 questions to work through, and then we'll get back into it.
Yeah. So true or false, a road safety audit is another name for a check against standards. True or false? Another one, true or false, you can audit your own design. A couple of answers coming in now. Oh yeah, they're all coming in. And then number 3, which of the following is not considered a formal element of the safe system? So we've got safe roads and roadsides, safe people, safe speeds, and safe attitudes. Number 4, which of these is not one of the common principles of the safe system? So which of these is not one? It's to eliminate mistakes on the road, shared responsibility, or people make mistakes. I think Rama's there asking how they can answer. You should be able to just select the answers on the poll.
And then, submit at the bottom, I think.
And then, submit at the bottom.
If the poll's not popping up for you, it may be that there's some firewall blocking that in your system, but it should have popped up and you're just clicking on it, which looks like we're getting lots of people able to do that. So hopefully that's working. You can move the poll around your screen, I think.
Final question, what speed did Usain Bolt cross the finish line in his world record 100-meter sprint? Sorry, not spin. That would have been good. A couple of people can't see these either.
Okay. As I said, don't worry about that. That'll be some firewall setting. It's part of the reason we don't mark anybody on anything that's happening, and we'll just have a chat about these. In 5 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we can end that poll and we can display the results. Okay, so let's have a look. And I assume that the people who couldn't answer will also won't be able to see it, so I'll read it out. True or false? Road safety auditor is another name for a check against standards. False, and almost everybody got that. Hopefully the person who said true simply misread it or the like, because absolutely it is not another name for a check against standards. True or false? You can audit your own design. Well, everybody was right on that. You cannot audit your own design. Okay, which of the following is not considered a formal element of the safe system? Almost got everybody on that. Safe attitudes. While we love people to have safe attitudes, it's not a formal element of the safe system. And which of these is not one of the common principles of the safe system? So yeah, eliminating mistakes on the road. It's not a principle of the safe system because we realize that that would be impossible with people. People make mistakes. It's about minimizing and managing, okay? And having that, shared responsibility. And what speed did Usain Bolt cross the finish line? Well, it was 44 kilometers an hour, and I think some of you have done different courses with me, and I use this analogy quite a bit. I'm going to stop sharing that. Here's going to take that away. Why am I asking about Usain Bolt in a road safety course? Well, I want you to imagine us parking a car at the end of Usain Bolt's lane. He runs down there at 44 kilometers per hour, and bang, he hits that car. Well, will he survive? And the answer is yes, he probably will, because he's very strong. He's built to survive that. Pick any of us up and fling us at the car, or our grandparents. Are we going to survive that kind of speed? Probably not. There's a decent correlation between your maximum running speed and your ability to withstand force. And in fact, for our community, this curve is generally about right, where we see cars, passenger vehicles, hitting pedestrians, and we see at that collision speed, not speed limit, collision speed, speed of impact, the chance of death generally around the 10, 20, 30 kilometers per hour is really low. It's quite low. Up around 60, 70, 80 kilometers per hour, it's really quite high. And we have this for other crash types as well. I'm actually just going to jump out of my slides here, I think. Yeah, that's not going to play. I had a little video, which some of you might have seen, but it's not going to. So we have this for other crash types. So this is the bullet vehicle. The bullet vehicle is the one that does the damage in a crash. This is target vehicle. The target vehicle. So this is bullet vehicle speed down here. Speed of vehicle doing the damage. Target vehicle, it doesn't matter what speed it's doing. It could be very slow. Sometimes if it's a bit faster, you have some interesting vectors in terms of where things go, but don't worry about that. Generally, 30, 40, 50 kilometers an hour. Bullet vehicle speed, likely survivable for the occupant of the target vehicle. Up around these higher speeds, 60 or 80, 90, high chance of death for target vehicle occupant. And for head-on crashes, we can see there, it's somewhere around that sort of 60, 70 kilometers per hour where it really kicks up bad. And up around the 90s and 100s, it's highly likely head-on crashes are going to result in death. Got some snippets on that, biomechanics of injury, crash types, information in there you can read more on. There's lots of literature out there. There's lots of work on this happening, trying to make this more refined, include other crash types and things. But generally, for our purposes as a road safety auditor, we can be fairly much looking at, okay, are the speeds below these sort of general threshold speeds that we say 30 kilometers per hour where pedestrians or cyclists could be hit, 50 kilometers per hour where we've got side impact crashes, right angles, 70 kilometers per hour where we've got head-on potential. And these are what we would call safe system threshold speeds. Of course, there will be crashes that happen lower speeds than this that cause death and serious injury. There will be crashes at higher speeds than this where people miraculously survive and not be injured. But these are a general sort of threshold point for us to think about. And I've given.
Oh, sorry. We just had a question in the Q&As asking how safer vehicles can be addressed during the road safety audit.
Yeah, it's a good question. So road safety audits are not, that's not part of a road safety audit to analyse vehicle safety features and try to encourage better uptake of safety features or to analyse the existing features of fleets using the area. That's more of what a safe system assessment would include. A road safety audit is taking the existing infrastructure and looking to maximise safety out of it. So it is not an analysis of vehicle safety intervention. So here's just some more impact threshold speeds. And you need to start getting your head around this. Different crash types can happen at different speeds, and we expect different safety outcomes. I think you're all probably pretty aware of that already, but we need to be a bit more specific with the type of crash and the sort of speeds where we say, well, if this happens below this, like we don't want it to happen, but it's acceptable. If it happens above this, it's unacceptable. And so the old model of road safety auditing used to be, you look at your design, the design they've given you, or you look at the existing road environment. You say, well, what are the risks here? And then you rate those risks, and then you recommend treatments. Under our new road safety audit model, we still look for those risks. We assess those risks, and we consider the safe system tolerances, which are those speeds and crash types that we were talking about. And then we recommend safe system aligned mitigation measures. So we try to help our clients to understand how effective the treatments would be in terms of reducing the chance of the crash, or how bad the crash is when it does happen. And I'll take you through this with examples shortly, but I'll just check if I saw something flashing on my screen. I think there might be a question in there.
Just Alistair's mentioned there, is this for a 10% fatality rate? I think might be the previous one.
Yeah, so it is for a 10% fatality rate. And so this is this threshold line. So why, the question is a good one. Why would you pick 10%? We've just established we're aspiring to zero death and serious injury and the like. So, why is this? There's a couple of reasons. One big one is that this is generally the point where things exponentially go bad. So small increases in speed of these collisions above these points, things go really bad really quickly. So it is that sort of key point where things tip over. It's also, I think, really embedded that it's a transition for us to move towards this. Our road infrastructure, our road environment, and our operating procedures are so far off these safe system operating speeds that we're transitioning to try to improve these things. But it is 10% fatality for these as well. Okay, I need to now take you through how to write up an audit finding, and I'm going to use this as an example. So here is a new intersection. Okay, this doesn't exist. This is somebody's design, and the road exists there, but there's no intersection. There's no sign. So they've come up with the design, and they said, right, we'd like a road safety audit done on this. They hand it over, and the audit team gets it, and they look at the design, and they might go out and they look at they will go out, they'll look at the existing road, they'll imagine this built, say, now what types of crashes could occur that will kill or seriously injure our community? Okay, and the one I'm going to pick, there might be lots of things in the scheme that you look at and point out. The one I'm going to pick is a scenario where we have a vehicle turning, maybe it's a large vehicle, and there's a vehicle here propped to turn right, and there's a vehicle coming up here. Okay, and the sight lines are blocked by the turning vehicle. So this is what we would call a dynamic visual obstruction issue. Let me show you. Okay, here's an example. So you can see here we're at an intersection, and we've got that truck that's going into the left lane to turn left. And you can see just sitting on its shoulder is that white vehicle. So let's go a little bit further forward, and you can see there that the truck is turning, the white vehicle's there, the silver car at the intersection maybe would be thinking, okay, as soon as that white car is passed, I've got my gap to turn out. The whole time, a silver vehicle had been masked by the truck. So if this vehicle had gone out, they would not have seen that, and we were in a high-speed crash. So to this point, you start to write up that concern. So as an audit team, you've looked at the design, you've conjured this up in your mind. Okay, yep, I'm concerned by that. That could happen when they build this. And so you need to write it up. And we have developed a formula or a recipe to write up a road safety audit finding. And I want you to follow this. In fact, senior auditors that do the marking of your assignments are marking you against whether you follow this or not. So follow it. The way it works is that we describe the issue for the intersection of blah, 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 blah. The vehicles using the left turn lane may create a dynamic visual obstruction for motorists at the hold line looking for through vehicles. Then you clearly articulate the crash that could happen. This increases the likelihood of right through side impact crashes involving vehicles turning out of the side road. I don't care how blindly obvious it is to you when you've described your issues, the crash that could happen, you need to specify it. Okay, and this is another one where people say, oh, it was obvious there was a pedestrian crash, a vehicle hitting a pedestrian that we're worried about. It wasn't obvious. Okay, you need to articulate that. This one's not a pedestrian one, but you get the point. The blue are any factors you believe increase the risk, decrease the risk, and the volume of vehicles on both roads is low, which reduces the likelihood of this crash. However, the proportion of large vehicles turning left into Epsom Bunalapa Road is high, which increases the chance of the dynamic visual obstruction occurring. Okay, so we've said, listen, this is a fairly low volume road. So the chance that this all lines up, that we've got that turning vehicle, we've got the other one masking, and that somebody's made the bad choice to go at that time, it's low that that's all going to line up. But the fact that there's actually quite a number of large vehicles, the proportion of large vehicles turning, that makes it a little bit. Then the purple one, which is standards and guidelines, if applicable, right? So you may back that up with this, this doesn't meet standards, or this is, discouraged in, this guideline. This one though says the design is consistent with current Austroads and VicRoads design guidance. The auditors believe it still presents a safety issue. That's interesting, isn't it? So that's the audit team have said, yeah, we know this is the standard layout. We think that people are going to be killed and seriously injured here. And so we report it. Another example. Now, some jurisdictions have moved to a position where this is not a standard layout, and that they have standards and guidelines that require maybe an offset between those two lanes. And so if this design was presented, you might say all of the red, the yellow, and the blue, and then in the purple you say, and this does not meet the current TMR standard layout for a left turn lane, which can be found in road design note XYZ. Okay. So then we need to risk rate this. We need to say, well, how bad is this? We've got some risk factors in there, but how bad is this risk? And risk is the product of likelihood times severity. Now, some of you have been doing safe system assessments, and you might have done that course with me. We sort of split out likelihood into exposure and likelihood. But you'll see there in the Austroads road safety audit matrix, we've got likelihood includes exposure. So this is, what is the chance that this crash is going to happen? And when it does happen, how bad is it going to be? So, if we say, well, this crash is almost certain, and when it does occur, it's definitely going to be fatal. We're in an extreme risk scenario, and that is to the right of this line, which is where we're, talking about serious injuries and fatals, which are our big focus in the safe system reduction. Like, you can achieve a safe system and still have moderate, minor, and insignificant crashes, right? Because they're not lifelong or not debilitating serious crashes. We don't want them. We don't want these minor crashes or these sort of things, but we can, tolerate them under a safe system. So we're trying to eliminate them, but these ones in the serious injury and fatal is what we're looking to absolutely eliminate. Maybe you say it's rare that this crash will happen, and when it does happen, we think it's going to be minor if it does still happen, and that's a negligible risk. So you're going to have to use this when you're risk rating, and it's about what do you think the severity is, and you'll find that there, and you'll find some information about, okay, that's the severity, and this is about the frequency you expect this crash to happen. And then you find the resulting risk. And the risks are in here. Like, this is sort of risk 101 I'm doing here. But I've got to be clear. These are not the risks. The risks are the resulting. So for this one, we might say, well, we believe the chance of this happening is rare. When it does happen, it's going to be serious. The resulting risk is medium. But because it's serious, right, it's to the right of this line, it gets this FSI, which stands for fatal and serious injury. Because we could have a medium risk down here, which we're saying, oh, we're going to get an absolute heap of insignificant fender benders in terms of insignificant for the severity. That is a medium risk. So this is just a little bit of clarification around what we are thinking about as how we've arrived at that risk. And all things being equal, we are more concerned about this than we are about this. I'm not saying we don't worry about this. This is what we've got to try and eliminate. Then we need to come up with some ideas to help these designers and project managers to adjust this design so we can either eliminate that death and serious injury possibility, or we can significantly reduce it or reduce it. And what we do, and you're going to practice this a lot through the next couple of weeks, is we come up with those ideas and we categorize those into treatments, either primary or supporting. Now, primary treatments are things that virtually eliminate the potential for fatal and serious injuries occurring with that foreseeable crash time. And supporting treatments are ones that improve safety, but they're not expected to virtually eliminate. All right? And they don't change the ability for us to put a primary treatment in the future. I wouldn't worry too much about that at this stage. That's a little bit. So what I'm gonna show you this, and then I'll come back to it because this is important. When you make your recommendation, you can have multiple things if you want, because the project team may be constrained by one thing or another. But you can see here, implement measures to reduce the speed and or angle of impact at this location. This could be achieved with a roundabout primary. Your roundabout is a primary treatment. If this cannot be achieved, implement measures to improve sight lines at this location, such as increasing the offset of the left turn lane, supporting, relocating the hold line, if it can be done safely, also supporting. So the people often get confused with this. They say they're thinking, well, hang on, if we offset this, so that turn lane's now down here, so this vehicle's further down here, sight lines are open. Surely that's a primary. We've eliminated that risk. Okay, it's not about eliminating the risk, it's about eliminating death and serious injury from that crash type. And that crash type is somebody turning out and somebody hitting them. And that can absolutely still happen, and absolutely happen at the same speed and the same severity. We've lessened the chance it will happen, but we have not eliminated that crash happening. Okay, I think a question's come in there about how do we differentiate between serious and fatal? It can be a little bit hard, and you know, your sort of differences there. There is a little bit of judgment across that. You have these things to help you: admitted to hospital, death within 30 days of hospital, you know, minor first aid, and then you've got some likelihood thinking about, oh, it's going to happen once every, you know, 7 years or more, or is it going to happen once every quarter? So they're guiding you, but you still need to make some judgment calls and use your judgment. Yeah, so here was an example of you know, adding in a buffered area, which happened to, you know, use to make as a bike facility through there as well, which, you know, it's not the ideal for a bike, but you know, you're going to make a buffer anyway. It's providing something, but that's not a primary treatment. Even though you've opened up sight lines, it's all set. That's a supporting treatment. Really, to get us to a primary treatment, it must either address the consequence of the crash and bring that within those tolerable levels, or it's got to, you know, eliminate the possibility of that crash happening. And this has to, you know, take into account humans are going to fall asleep, they're going to run red lights, they're going to be distracted, and all those things. Now, as I say, this is probably a point you're just going, I'm confused about this. Don't get too stressed out about that, because we're going to have lots of practice of this. In a road safety audit, you leave this responsible officer column blank. And that is a reminder that they have to do something with this audit report, right? You've found something as an audit team. You've rated the risk of it. You've made some recommendations. Over to them now. Well, they need to do something. They don't need to build what you've said, or they don't need to change their design, but they've got to do something with that recommendation. So, I mean, here's another audit and an example. And there's something in here that I think is also really important to remind you. And again, our markers give out extra points for this. Here is a snip of the design. Well, there's a picture of the existing site. Because I don't need to read all of this to know what the issue is here. I know that we're talking about, I can see it already. It's a 2.9 meter wide right turn lane. I go, that's narrow. That's going to, it's going to cause issues. I know which lane it is, I know where it is, and I know what the concern is, all from the diagram. Then there's the, you know, the actual text to support this. But put a snip of the diagram in, put a photo in. Okay. I'm just going to jump through that because I want to keep moving on, because we're going to give you a little assignment to do, and I just want to cover off a couple of other things. So you can see there, you got 2.9, oh, that's going to cause sideswipe issues and some other challenges. So on that one, like a poor example of a write-up would be, you know, right turn bay is too narrow. Like, which right turn bay? What do you mean too narrow? What's the problem with that? Like, you know, there's so many unknowns. You know, this fine, you know, this one's fair. At least they're saying which roads, the main and the side road, and it's going to cause particular crash types. And okay, they've corrected us at some Austroads guidance. It's saying at least 3.3 meter. You know, but what we're really striving at is that, you know, diagram there, and we've got those key elements being the issue, the crash, the risk factors, and the standards and guidelines if applicable, and that diagram. So that's good. That's all nice. I think Sam's picking some other interesting things about this little design with the island set back, and that's a good point. Okay. So a road safety audit is not, here's things that it's not a compliance check with technical standards. It's not a way to check the overall merit of a project. I mean, there's other ways you can do that. You don't rank or justify options using road safety auditing. Again, there's other ways to do that. It's not your quality assurance process. That should happen anyway. Not a crash investigation. It's not your periodic maintenance inspections and these sort of things. And it's not something that we want only done on very high cost projects. We want it done in lots of different scenarios. We're not there to redesign the projects either. We can give some suggestions. It's their project. They've got lots they need to think about. We just provide that information. It's not the workplace health and safety check. I mean, that may come into a traffic management worksite road safety audit, but it's not like an OH&S check. That's like we're thinking about all road users. And it's not, checking traffic management plan, control plan movements, like in that compliance with the code style. Okay, a road safety audit of a temporary traffic management scheme will be holistic, and we'll talk about that more later. Road safety auditors are problem finders. That's what we do. If we help them solve the problem, that's just added benefit. What I do find is a lot of engineers, road designer, tech officers come in to this course and they cannot separate finding a problem with solving it. It all happens like that. And they go, that intersection should be a roundabout. You're like, whoa. Tell us what is the issue, right? And then we might get to a roundabout, but clarifying what is the problem is what our role. And just, a little diagram here, road safety audits, but we have, design reviews that happen, and, they're similar thinking often. We have safe system assessments happen, and they're thinking about safety, and they overlap a bit. We've got safety and design. We've got PDA, which is Disability Discrimination Act. There's lots of things injecting safety in, and road safety audit is one. So what can be audited? Well, a heap of stuff. I mean, anything that interacts with the road, big, small, construction sites, innovative projects, off-road shared path facilities, a whole lot of stuff can be audited. And I'm going to use this example in our last couple of minutes before Kez jumps in and gives you an assignment. Here's a bit of road, and a local government is doing an upgrade, and they're sealing this road. They're formalising the intersection. They're going to put some curb and channel and make it all formalised. And let me show you. There you go. It's all done. But they made the decision that no road safety audit was required under the justification that we're improving this. Like we're upgrading the surface. We're formalising it. We're improving everything here, and we're improving safety, making this better and safer because we're following all the standards and everything's going to be good. Well, I'll give a prize to the person who can tell me what crashes occurred significantly more after this was built, and what was the factors influencing this? Like, why are we seeing more crashes, more death and serious injury as a result of this compared to when it was that unsealed road? Okay. All right, Kez, I'm going to need you to jot down a few names here because we've got some great stuff. People are really already thinking like auditors. So Alistair's gone with the see-through, and that is very much what we saw at this intersection was a see-through effect being created, significantly increasing. And yes, so right angle crashes, run through. So Robert can have a prize. He was onto that as well. And yeah, Sonny was in there. Gee, lots of people. It was a real race on this one. So let's just jump down and have a look. So that's the new bit. Don't worry about the burnout marks. I mean, you can see their new beautiful curving channel and all these sorts of things. It looks, it all looks lovely. This is from the existing road. And before it was sealed, it was actually quite clear that the road was changing. This was an intersection. As it got sealed, it really highlighted this subconscious visual deceit. Like, yeah, approaching it, yeah, it's got 2 stop signs. They've doubled up the stop signs, but people were just overshooting this intersection. And, we saw the number of people killed and seriously injured, members of our community killed and seriously injured, significantly increased by what this council said was no need for an audit because this is improving the infrastructure. So I just use this to say that audits are so important because we could have intervened as auditors and lessened this risk. I mean, there's so many things that could have been done. Yes, there's some expensive things that would have virtually eliminated a roundabout at this location, but we could have done offsetting this crossroad to staggered T. We could have done splitter islands. We could have done further advanced active warning signs. We could have done rumble strips on the approach. The list goes on, but nobody was there to intervene, to make these comments, to alert to this fact. Okay, so somebody's pointed out, and this is eagle-eyed stuff here, and it looks like a username, so I'm not sure who it is. Kez, you can work it out. That this has a giveaway line marking where it's got stop signs. Now, I think that's very impressive that you've got such a keen eye. Is that a major factor in death and serious injury occurring here? Absolutely not. Right? It's not correct, and it should be fixed. And I'd put it into my audit, but I actually wouldn't risk rate that. I would say, just to note, because to me, you fix that up, you're like just as much death and serious injury. All right, so good spotting, and I do like people with that attention to detail, but just always think that that ain't going to fix our death and serious injury problem with this intersection. All right, I think I might save the types of audit for next session, because I want to explain a little bit about this assignment. So I'm going to jump through this, and I will come back to that, I promise. Shortly, Kez is going to assign you a random topic. Now, the topics will be, they could be road safety treatments. They could be issues that are out there, like dynamic visual obstruction we talked about, or visual deceit. And your job is to do a little bit of research on this topic, just a little bit of research, and create something that tells other members of this course a bit about that treatment, that issue. And you can do that, you're free to do that however you want. You could do a video, you can do a fact sheet, you can do a cartoon, you could do a little short presentation, like a PowerPoint, not that you're going to present it. It's going to go into a folder and then others can read about it. And you want to relate this back to road safety and road safety auditing. So if we talk about, I don't know, if it was roundabouts or something, you want to talk about the safety features around about what sort of design characteristics influence crashes, how are different road users, you know, protected or not protected, and those sort of things. And we're going to give some prizes out here. Well, you know, you will be marked on this. Okay, we're not very strict markers on this first assignment. You got freedom. What we want you to do is just find one, like dig into this issue, understand it, and present it back. But if you want, so you can pass this or get a good mark on this very easy. If you want to get a prize out of it, the most creative will get a prize, the most technically sound will get a prize, and the most engaging will get a prize. Okay, so have a think about it. Be creative. We've seen some great stuff come in, little short videos, little 2-minute podcasts, little cartoons, and some really, you know, great cartoons and wonderful fact sheets and good stuff. Now, Kez is about to bring this up, but I'll just sort of show you. These are the kind of things that will be the topics. And the reason we are sort of assigning you one of these and then putting these into a folder in the learning management system is because we don't have time to go through in the depth of all of these. But these are all the kind of things as auditors we want you to be aware of, plus the, you know, 10,000 more, or an infinite number more really, as we continue to learn new stuff and find stuff. But, you know, you might get dwell on red or rest on red, okay? And you'll go, what on earth is that? Well, you'll start Googling it and you'll look into it. What is dwell on red? What is rest on red? And you'll find info and you'll get your head around it and you'll go, okay. And then you'll go, okay, I'll put a fact sheet together on that, or I'll make a little video, or I'll be creative and I'll use my Lego and, you know, create a scene, whatever it is. It's up to you. So, Kez will show you also where you upload this in the learning management system and tell you when it's due, which I think is going to be in a week's time.
Yeah. So I'll just try and share my screen to find the topic generator. While I do that, Ken, there was one last question there from Daniel. How does one determine whether RSA is required or not? I think this.
Yeah. I will cover that in the next session.
Okay.
And the last session, actually, next and last.
Oh, hold on, sorry.
Okay.
Has it come up?
It's still sharing. Here it is.
Yeah, we've got the topic generator. So
okay.
So we've got everyone's names there and the topics, and I'm gonna randomly shuffle this around. If you want to say, oh, maybe not. Maybe that won't work. Oh, is it going? It's going. It's generating. Ken, you want to say stop?
Okay, I'm not seeing it generate, but stop anyway.
Oh. There we go. So have you got that there?
Yeah, jump through. I've got the first one is dynamic visual instruction, and then it's moving around now. No, we will email you this out because it's sort of jumping along. I don't know where it stopped.
Does it? Yeah, no problem. I'll save that, and if I show you where it will be.
Oh, it's still jumping for me. Nope. Yeah, I think some names might be further down the screen as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so we will email this out to you very shortly. We will know your topic, and we'll make sure, so check your emails, you'll see your topic, and if you have any trouble finding info on the topic, get in contact with me. And then there you go, Kez has now put up the learning management system, just appeared, and over to you, Kez.
Yeah, I have. I think I'm on a bit of a delay. So if I scroll down, is it scrolling?
Yeah.
And we've got module 1 here.
Yep.
So the quiz, which will be available after this, will be a short quiz to complete as well about this topic. And then here you've got your research topic, which just got all the information, and the list will be uploaded here. It'll be attached is the list. So just
Yep.
give me a moment and I'll get that uploaded there. So that's in the learning management system, and got the information, and there's the due date of the 27th, Monday the 27th. So you've got 6 days to complete that.
Okay, and we will email the list out to everybody as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, it will be sitting in there as everything is, and you've got all your info and things in there. But we need you to do that quiz and do the assignment, and you'll get that. And there's the due date, and there's the, just come up there, how to upload it. So you're in there. There'll be a button for you to say upload submission, and you upload it. And I think it's got a 100 meg size limit. So if you're making a video or something, and try and keep it under that, or send us put in a download link or something like that. But you'll figure it out. Really don't, like, there's no need to spend more than about 15 minutes on this. If you want to really, go and create something more, sure, okay, as long as you're having fun with it. But, some Googling and a fact sheet, and that'll get you through. Okay, that's time. Thanks, Kez. Thanks, everybody. And log in a little bit early before the next session for a chance to win a prize with some trivia. Thank you.